Hi guys, happy Sunday. Welcome new viewers and welcome returning viewers. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mandy. I go by Mandy Von Knits on Ravelry and Instagram, and this is my kind of a knitting vlog where I talk to you about things that I've been working on for the last week, finished objects that I've done, and pretty much all the crafty things that I've gotten into over the last 7 days. It is a beautiful day outside. I've got bees buzzing outside the window and rhododendrons in full, well, not full bloom, but getting there, and they're pink, and I just love them. Spring makes me so happy. I've got a lot to talk about this week. It's been a week. Does anybody ever feel like that you kind of just wish you could take like the last 7 days and kind of just throw them away? Because anyways, I have a finished object, and if you've been watching, if you're a returning viewer, you'll notice that it's what I'm wearing, and I'm super excited that I finished it. It's very comfortable and it blocked wonderfully, so I will talk about that. I started a crochet item, and I haven't crocheted for quite a bit, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I've made some good progress on my Castaways, which I love how the yarn is working up, so I'm super excited to talk to you about that. So I guess I'm gonna start by talking about what I'm wearing and my first finished object. This is the Thursday special from Alina Nodell, and it is knit out of Malabrigo Rios, and the colorway is teal feather, and I love it. So last week I had gotten pretty far. I had shown you how far I was from the underarm. So I knit a couple of more inches, and I'm like, okay, this needs to be blocked because I need to know how much this yarn is going to grow. I don't want a cardigan that's going to be like down to my knees. There's a time and a place for that, and this pattern, this cardigan is not that time or place. So I blocked it, and the yarn was soft like originally, but after it's soaked and blacked, it just feels so soft and nice to the skin, and I was very pleasantly pleased with that. It did grow enough to where I didn't have to add any more length after I blacked it, and I could just finish up with this garter stitch edge on the bottom. So that was also a pleasant surprise because I was hoping that would happen. Now this yarn is worsted weight, so it's more of a cooler weather type cardigan for normal people who aren't me, because right now I'm freezing all the time, and I'm not sure why. I believe last summer I was burning up constantly, and now I'm back to just so cold. I can't keep warm for anything. It's gotten to the point where like I have a mini heater, and I've got it near me pretty much all the time. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with yarn, right? So this cardigan, and let me try to pull it down from the back there. Okay, so this cardigan has a really easy lace repeat on the front panels on this side and this side, and the back is just straight stockinette. So if you're pretty, I don't even want to say pretty comfortable with lace, if you know how to use stitch markers and you can read your knitting, you could definitely get this cardigan done. The lace knitting is fairly easy, and it's only for like this much, and then you have a pretty big stockinette break, and then you're back to just a little bit of lace knitting. So if you use stitch marker, like if you're not comfortable with lace, or if you're like me and you kind of get distracted by everything, if you use stitch markers between your lace repeats, you can tell like within a row if you've messed up somehow. And it's pretty easy to basically, I don't want to say take back, just drop down the stitches on the lace pattern and kind of bring it back up. But that, I mean, I remember when I did my daughter's version of this, the Thursday special, and it was a little bit harder for me to fix those mistakes. So maybe it's just because I've been doing the pattern for so many cardigans now. But you're probably a better lace knitter than I am because I'm not very good at it. So if you're confident, you could definitely do this. There's nothing hard about that. How's that? And plus it's knit and worsted weight, so that's always a plus. And for anyone who's new here, I'm going to explain the construction really quick. You start off by casting on with a provisional cast on and working the back down past the underarms. And then you pick up and you knit past the underarms on one side and then past the underarms on the other side. There's short rows for the shoulders and there's short rows on the back section. So it does help the fit and I do like it. The sleeve is kind of, what do you call it? A drop shoulder, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I do like it. And I'm cold, so it's coming in handy. All in all, I'm trying to think of this cardigan didn't take me very long to knit. I really did enjoy the process and I really do like how it came out. And I actually wore it yesterday when we went out, so it's probably going to be one of my staple items. I'm thinking that I'm going to go through my yarn stash and see what other Malabrigo Rios yarns I have. I have some yarns that I may have gotten. Sometimes Jimmy Bean's Wool runs like a mystery bag for Malabrigo where you can get 3 for a really good deal, and sometimes I'll go ahead and grab those. So it would be interesting to take this yarn and make some other cardigans because I really do like how it came out. And my daughter is still wearing hers as well. I just saw her in it, I believe, on Friday. Okay, but that is my first finished object and I'm very, very excited about it. So, what should I tell you about next? I'm going to tell you about this. Let me show you the pattern first. Sorry, my phone's dinging. So, this isn't going to really help. I'll put a picture up here so you can actually see how it looks in color. But here we go. This is, it's Shawl Good for Kids. It is Heart, Hook, and Home. So you can kind of see how this crochet cardigan is going to look right there. And this is what I started this week. I started this on, I believe, last Monday. And I only worked on it for one day. And there's a good reason that I worked on it for only one day. But let me show you what I got so far, which isn't very much. Sorry, the yarn is kind of catching on itself. So this is what I have so far. And this is knit from Mandala yarns. It's the baby color, or it's one of the babe, I forget how they word it, but it's Mandala from Lion Brand, and they have some of their yarns that are kind of like lighter pastel colors. They also have a line, like a version of the Mandala called Ombre yarns, and I love those. But that's neither here nor there. If you ever do like go to Joann's and you look at their Mandala, take a look at their ombre yarns, because I made a cardigan, a rainbow cardigan for my daughter. it was actually a rainbow hoodie. So it had a hood and everything. It came out so pretty. It was probably my favorite thing I've ever made her. So this is the shawl that I started making for my daughter. And this is kind of like her color wheel. It's got all of the pink, pastel, pretty. She really enjoys like the lighter colors. And my only regret for this is that I've only gotten this far on this. Like I said, I started this on Monday, and it was my plan to work on it every night of the week for a little bit and get it done. But I ended up going back to the hospital on Tuesday night, and things went like completely sideways. So you'll see my knitting is kind of all over the place this week. But I'm trying to think of what I can tell you about the pattern. So you start off with like a little tiny chain, and then you half double crochet into the beginning of that chain, and then you kind of work out. Sometimes with patterns like this, it drives me crazy because I'm constantly trying to make sure this line right here and this line over here is as straight as I can make it. And I never think it comes out as straight as it should, but I'm trying. So I'm hoping, I mean, my daughter, she's gonna love it no matter what. So I will keep on keeping on. But from what I gather, I'm going to be working down until a certain part, and then some other magic happens that I have no clue how it's going to actually work and turn into a cardigan. But that's why I'm glad I have the pattern, right? The pattern has been really easy to read. I don't think I've ever done a crochet pattern from Heart Hook and Home, but it seems great to me so far. It explains everything that I'm doing, and I haven't had any issues with it. So I'm super excited about it. The cardigan, whenever I showed my daughter, I'm like, is this something that you'd wear, that you want? And she goes, oh, yes. So definitely, I know she'll wear it, and she'll definitely want the fringes. So a side note about my kid, she has this pink dress that's covered in, like, it's a pink dress and it's glittery, like sparkly everywhere. She wears it all over the place. She's worn it to the park. She wears it to her, like her spring concerts. She's wearing it throughout the house to dance to Taylor Swift. And I'm like, you know, you have other dresses. But see, the problem is she doesn't have other pink glittery dresses. So it is what it is. I'm hoping, and you know what? I haven't really looked through the pattern to the end. I've basically read like I've basically ignored, you know, every like the biggest rule of crochet or knitting, and I didn't read the pattern all the way through to begin with. So I'm hoping that I can get most of it done next week, barring anything else happening. But it seems like it's going to be one of those things that my daughter loves, with the fringe. It'll have to have the fringe. She'll be very specific. If I don't add the fringe to it, she'll be like, this doesn't look like the picture. I don't know. She's a very girly girl, and I appreciate that about her. When I was growing up, I was not a girly girl. I was a tomboy. At least until I got sick. So this is a muscle burrow, and I was not planning on knitting much on this last week. And what happened was, since I ended up in the hospital, here it is. I'm going to be, I have, let's see, this much left. I have this much left. I'm going to be knitting a little bit more. I'll measure it and see how many more inches I need. And the hope is that after I knit the rest of the muscle burrow, I'll have enough to make my daughter's Our Generation Girl doll a hat with this yarn so they can have matching hats. I don't know if I will. I think I should, especially if I don't make enough to where she has a double folded over brim. But this yarn is Mouse Witch Yarns, and it is the Year of Yarn, and it's the May colorway. So I love how this is knitting up. It's so pretty, and it reminds me of, like, I don't know, sprinkles and pink and happy times. So this is definitely my daughter's color. I have one that I'm going to be working on right as soon as I finish this. That's pink. Not pink. It's purple, which is decidedly not pink. And I love the color too. It's also Mouse Witch Yarns. This pattern has been such a good asset for me for when I go to the hospital, for when I have doctor's appointments. I'm sure I've mentioned this, but this is the Muscle Burrow by Isolde Teague, and it makes those visits and being stuck in the hospital or just pretty much any doctor's appointment a lot more bearable. So I definitely appreciate the fact that I have it and I don't have to pay attention to it, and I can just knit around and around and around. I did find an American Girl doll hat. Actually, I believe it was not just a hat, it had a sweater. It was a whole set, and I'll put the information down below of who wrote that and the name of the pattern. But I thought that it would be cute to take that hat and make her doll a hat matching with her. So, and if she likes that, maybe I'll make a little bit more clothes. I don't want to go crazy because I don't know if she's going to be like super into her doll yet. But if she does get there, then I will definitely make her more. Okay, so let me see and make sure I can get this out of my bag without breaking something. Because I've got headphones in here, which I never leave out of my knitting bag, because it would be a tragedy not to be able to listen to audiobooks while I'm knitting. Okay, so last week I had just an itty bitty piece of this done, and now I've joined in the round, but it's on a smaller needle, so sorry, trying to get rid of the hair that's on me. But this is on a smaller needle, so it's going to be kind of a little bit harder to show. So this is, I wish I had a hanger or something. Use my arms here. So this is Castaways, and it is knit in Emma's yarn, and I believe the base is called Silky Smooth. The colorway is January 2024, and I do like how it's kind of knitting up. The pooling, I don't even know if I'd call that pooling, right? But I really like how it's working up like that. Of course, keep in mind that this is only one ball. I have this much left, so I'm going to have to start introducing another one of the balls. And hopefully I can do it without any major catastrophes involving like weird yarn changes or something like that. So this works up pretty much exactly like this did. You cast on the back, and then you work down to the arm, under the armholes, and then you pick up the front, and you do some short row shaping for the shoulders, and you knit down past the armholes, and then you pick up the other side and you do the same thing. Eventually you join in the round. And my favorite part about this one is that you do join in the round, so it's stockinette, so no purling, unlike this. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I mind purling so much, it's just that knitting stockinette is faster for me. And it's not that faster is the goal, it's that this is going to be of this type of weather item, right? So this is definitely a spring summer shirt, and I would love to get this to where I can start wearing it. Because honestly, I do not have that many spring or summer items, just very minimal. I'm thinking maybe 2. So the way that this looks, it's a t-shirt and a tee, and you knit down until like 5 inches from where you want it to end, and then you go into the hem pattern, and it's got seashells on it. And I just thought that was so cute. Like I said, this is Emma's yarn, and it's hand-dyed in Florida, and I just thought, you know, Florida, seashells, and look at the pretty blue-green color. This might be fun to wear. We are going on vacation in a month and a half, and I think that this would be fun to wear while on vacation. Of course, I guess we'll have to see whether or not I stick with it and get it done, but I do love the feel of the yarn, and I'm curious to see how this is going to black up, because, and I'll put it down below because I don't remember. I put a lot of stuff down below. If you're new here, I'm constantly adding stuff down below. Like, I'll correct myself or add in yarn weights or yarn weights or fiber or pattern names and things like that. But because this yarn has so much silk content in it, I'm very curious to see how it's going to black up. I'm thinking that it's going to get much softer, and that actually makes me super happy, because whenever I did get this yarn, I was looking for some sort of silk yarn that I knew would kind of just be, you know, how silk feels. I'm very descriptive, aren't I? Just something that's going to be kind of silky and smooth and just soft, and something that feels good to wear even if it's like hot outside. I know this does have merino in it too, but like I said, right now, I mean, I'm wearing a worsted weight sweater. It's the middle of May. It's been around like 70-ish here. So if that gives you any indication of how I dress, right? But hopefully this will turn out and be exactly what I'm looking for. I think it will be. Whenever I'm knitting, especially when I'm knitting a sweater, I will go ahead and block it halfway through, maybe. I guess it depends. This tee has just teeny tiny sleeves, and the neck is teeny tiny, not, you know, lengthwise. And so once I get done with the body, that's pretty much it. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm curious to how it will black out. So in a couple more inches, I might soak it in water just to see. This will take nothing to dry. I can just put a fan on it and it'll be dry in like a day. But that's pretty much it for that. And that is pretty much all for knitting. At least items that I have to show you. I know that I mentioned last week that I was going to cast on another worsted weight sweater after this, and I showed you some yarn that I have, and I'm still planning on doing that, but ending up in the hospital for Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then most of Friday kind of derailed those plans. So hopefully next week. I still have no clue which pattern I'm going to choose. I believe one was called Kylie. Let me see if I have it in these papers. They're not in there. Do I have it in here? I have so many patterns printed out. I really need to find a better way to manage my patterns, because it's not good to waste. I don't want to say waste, because I use them, so it's not like it's a waste, but okay, here we go. So this was one of the options, and I thought that that was really pretty. And the name is, I believe, and I could be totally wrong, but I think it's Saji Sweater. And the person who wrote it is Yoko Johnston. And it says it's a Saji sweater is a top-down sweater with saddle shoulders. And Saji means spoon in Japanese. It's very pretty. It has a lot of lace, and oh, I just think it's so nice. That black and white photo is going to be terrible. That doesn't really sell it. I'm sorry. Just take I'll put a picture up. They're very nice. This is the second option. This is called the Kylie Pullover, and it is designed by Irene Lynn. Now, honestly, I may have enough to do both of them, but I'm gonna see how I feel. I might very well cast on the Kylie Pullover first and see how that goes. And the only reason I'd cast that one on first is because it's lacier, so it's going to be a little bit more weather appropriate right now. But I do love the other one as well. So I put in worsted weight yarn, and I put in sweaters, cardigans, pullovers, and just different options, different filters on Ravelry, and like within the first 2 or 3 pages I found both of those, and I'm like, okay, definitely those win. I should probably spend more time knitting than I do going through different patterns on Ravelry, but I really did fall in love with both of those. Okay, so that's all of the knitting I have this week. Thank you so much for coming and spending some crafting time with me. If you don't care to hear about like what's gone on in my life the last week, it will be pretty short, but I understand that's not some people's cups of tea, or hearing about books I've read, because I've read quite a bit of them, and I'm actually gonna have to look at my phone to see all of the names of them. Anyways, thank you so much for coming if you are leaving now. Okay, so for life stuff, on Tuesday, I've been checking my back every single day. So in March and April, I had a lot of a surgery. I had issues with spinal fluid leak, and then they fixed the spinal fluid leak, but it was still pooling underneath my skin. So it was leaking from where it should be, but it was still inside of my body. and I wore a binder after they discharged me from the hospital, and it basically went away. The doctor's like, you don't need to have another surgery, we're good. So on Tuesday, I took my binder off because I've been, terrified not to wear it since I got out of the hospital. And I every day, before my shower, I'll take it off and then kind of feel, adjust, see where, if basically there's any more leaking, because I've been super cautious and super scared about it. So, of course, on Tuesday morning, I noticed that there was fluid pooling under my skin again, which was very, very upsetting. It was very upsetting because I've been introducing exercise back in, and I've felt like I've been getting stronger. I've been using my CAFOs and the gait harness system to be able to take steps, around the living room, which is a big deal. Even if I'm using a CAFO and the gait harness system's holding me up, I'm still doing it, and it was very exciting. And I've been working pretty hard. Anyways, so we got in touch with my doctor's office, and they basically said, let us know if it gets worse, just rest and take it easy and watch out for signs of infection. So naturally, I guess because I have the worst luck in the entire world, I went to bed on Tuesday night and I woke up at midnight very sick. Very sick. In fact, I felt so terrible that I grabbed my phone and I couldn't figure out how to call my husband. I was fevers, chills, just not very good. And my stomach was upset, and long story short, I ended up going to the EMS. They went to the hospital, it's still the same hospital system, but it's one closer to our house. It's like 15 minutes away, who then transferred me to a hospital downtown, which is where my surgeon is. And I stayed in their ER room until Wednesday at noon, I think. And then I was admitted into the hospital. They kept me on NPO, which means nothing by mouth, because they didn't know what was going on. They had ran oodles of tests and determined that I had I don't have an infection. They don't know what happened. My surgeon thinks that maybe it was some viral thing that made me so sick. Like, out of all the times in the world to have something like that happen, I could have if I would have had it happen like on Monday night and hadn't have noticed any fluid, I would have never thought anything of it. But, anyways, so I stayed NPO till like Wednesday evening. Then they let me eat, and then I was NPO again from Thursday night or Wednesday night till like Thursday afternoon, and I was not eating a whole lot because they weren't sure what they were going to do yet. And throughout my hospital stay, nobody was really sure what was going to happen. So on Friday morning, my doctor walked in to my hospital room, and he's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, if it's okay with you, if I don't have an infection, can I just go home? I'll wear my binder, and then can I just follow up with you in the office? My thought is this. If I'm in the hospital, he's going to be kind of I don't want to say rushed, because they're not rushed, but do you know what I mean? Like, he's got to come up with a solution, and I think it would be better to deal with this outpatient and kind of plan for a surgery if I'm not in any imminent danger. And he says that the only time they worry about the spinal fluid, there's a microscopic chance of me to have an infection from this because it's not, the skin isn't broken. So I said, okay, let's just deal with this through appointments and we can come up with a plan and hopefully deal with it and get it solved for like ever. Because I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to have to feel like I'm walking on eggshells or like I can't kind of work hard at walking, because I thought I was doing a great job in the last couple of weeks getting stronger, and now I'm back to like sitting in bed through no fault of my own. All the doctors have said, they've basically said, you know, whatever happened, you didn't cause this. It's just sometimes these things happen, and so that's the hospital stuff. I would love to say that there was more like to my week other than that, but there really wasn't. I am opening up Hoopla because I need to come up with a list of books that I've read. If you haven't heard of Hoopla, it's a great app that allows you to borrow 8 books with no wait. If you can use your library card if they're signed up to use it. So let's see. The first book that I read was called The New Girl, and this was a weird book. So it was about this husband and wife who own a business, and the husband decides that they need help, so he hires this girl from church, and the wife is kind of, she spirals a lot. She takes an idea and she catastrophizes about it. She comes up with like the worst possible, even if it's way out of left field. Anyways, so she thinks that this lady is sleeping with her husband, and she thinks that they're having a baby together, and I can't tell you anymore because it will ruin the entire story. But throughout the whole book, I'm like, wow, this lady needs to take deep breaths. Just in and out. Nothing's that bad. We have to just breathe. So it made me anxious listening to it. So the next book that I read was The Summer She Went Missing. By the way, The New Girl is from Alison Stockham. The Summer She Went Missing was Chelsea Acaso. So The Summer She Went Missing is about a girl and her family, and they always meet up with another family, the parents' best friends, at like a summer spot, a vacation home. And when they're 16, they meet up, and there are 2 teenage girls and their best friends. And throughout the summer, one of the girls becomes distant, and she doesn't talk very much, and she's always busy, and she's always going around and saying she has to work. And anyways, so near the end of the summer, the girl who's always busy and doesn't talk very much anymore just goes missing. And the book is about the next summer, how her best friend and her brother try to figure out what happened to her. And it was pretty good. I did like it. Light reading. That's pretty much all that I've been up to for the last week. And I did read all these books this week. Well, listen to them all this week. And the reason there are so many is because I was in the hospital and I didn't have much else to do. The hospital has a TV, but I'm not much of a TV person. The only time I would really turn it on would be like at night when I was trying to fall asleep. Okay, so the next book that I read was The Stranger by Kirsten Modglin. Okay, so I like the way that this book started because it made me laugh. There is a huge snowstorm and there's this guy driving down the road and there's this woman walking and she is very snarky. And that's the best way I can describe it, when he stops to try to help her because like there's a huge snowstorm and they're out in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour to the next town by car. And she's very snarky and she doesn't want his help. And he's like, well, I'm not going to just leave you here. You'll die. So he goes, I'm going to call the police, or you can get in and I can take you to the next town. And it goes back and forth for a while. It was kind of entertaining. But eventually she decides to get in the car and they end up at a hotel because all landlines are down, cell service is down. It's just a very big storm. So they end up at a hotel, and throughout the story, you're hearing somebody's point of view, and you don't know who it is, but they're basically a killer and all the dramatic stuff. So those two people ended up at a hotel. How much can I tell you without ruining the story? Okay, so the two people end up at a hotel, some bad things happen, and that's pretty much all I can tell you. But it was a good book. The last book that I've read is called Every Last Lie, and it was from Mary Kubica. So there's this lady, and she's married, and they have a 4-year-old and a baby, a newborn, basically a newborn, 4 days old. And her husband calls and asks her what she wants for dinner because he's driving her daughter home from ballet. So she says, I don't know if it was Chinese or Mexican, but one of those. So he says, okay, and he goes to pick up the food on the way home. Eventually, she finds out through police officers that her husband got into a car accident and he died. Her daughter is perfectly fine. But the whole book is about her trying to figure out what happened, because her daughter starts having night terrors about a bad man and how a bad man is after them, and she's screaming for her dad, and the mom thinks that someone was chasing them in the car and that's why he got into an accident. So the whole book is her uncovering what happened while her husband is narrating basically from the past. And it was a good book. It was a good book. I did like that. I do like Mary Kubica and her books in general. She has one out called Local Woman Missing, and I really liked that book. I'm trying to think of other ones. I know there was Local Woman Missing, and She's Not Sorry was a really good one that I read a couple of weeks ago. The one about the nurse taking care of a lady who fell off of a bridge. It was really good. Those are all the books that I've at least finished this week. So that's it for that. As for watching, I'm not much of a TV person, especially this week. Unless you want to hear about like the random sitcoms I was watching trying to fall asleep. I don't think you do. At night, I will turn on just random things. I'll turn on like The Golden Girls or something like that, just to listen to fall asleep. I do love, like, the Golden Girls. They would always, like, Betty White would always, it always made me laugh. That was, she was an awesome actress. And that was a good series, but I'm pretty sure by now I've seen at least most of them. That's it for this week. I'm hoping to stay out of the hospital. My next doctor's appointment with my neurosurgeon is on it's either June 8th or June 11th. And then I have one that's on either August 8th or August 11th. So one of those. I have it all written down. But I guess we'll see what the plan is then. And hopefully everything will be fine and we can schedule out a surgery sometime after, like, our vacation and everything like that, because there's no imminent issues right now. It's just not a very good feeling, right? Walking around knowing that you're broken and you need to be fixed. It's like Humpty Dumpty, right? All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Hopefully this time, though. Anyways, we are going to Lowe's today because they've got these hanging flower baskets on sale, and we're going to get a couple for our house outside, which I think will make me super happy. I love, like, the pops of color just hanging from the porch. And I promised my daughter, and she's been asking. So last week I go, okay, we're either going to go to the park on Sunday or Petco if it rains. So she decided on Sunday it wasn't raining, so we took her to the park, and she's like, but can't we go to Petco too? And I'm like, no, we're going to save Petco for another day. We like to go to Petco just to look at the pets and probably get our spoiled cats more toys or treats. So those are our plans for today. I hope that you guys have got some knitting in. I hope that you are having an awesome day. I hope that everything is going great for you this week. And if you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. Oh, I forgot to mention. So I got really excited earlier this week because I have like 94 subscribers, and that's super close to 100. So I started thinking about I really want to do a giveaway for 100 subscribers. So if you're still watching, write down below what you would like to see for a giveaway. I was thinking in my head I could do a yarn bag. And then I'm like, would they like a bunch of the same yarn so they could make a big project? Or maybe coordinating yarn so they can make a big project, or different types of yarn? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's gonna be fun. And I already told my daughter she could help, like, pick out some of the notions that I have to give away. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by, and I hope to see you guys next weekend. Thanks. Bye.